It's our last show of the work week, and we are heading toward Friday and the weekend. Mostly quiet times seem to lie ahead. And as we move into next week, some warmer times. In the meantime, there is a winter storm going on in the west, and we'll let you know what that's going to do, and we'll get into all sorts of gory details tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Which, if you'd like to support us, just use the link at the top of the chat board to do your Amazon shopping, and it doesn't cost you a penny. Just click on the link, buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and Amazon throws us some coin out of their pocket. It's an easy way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, and it also keeps commercials out of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, or at least during it anyway. So, all right, tired of this cold here. First of all, we had a little bit of snow last night. Just a
Really?
light, just enough that I saw had some on my truck. But the mountains, if you're above 3,000 feet, the mountains look like they got about an inch or two. So it was very scenic driving around today. Uh, only got to 44, I believe, for a high. It's 40. I got 2 thermometers. 37 is my current temperature here in North Georgia. I wanted to warm up. We should go to 60 tomorrow because I just had enough. This winter here down here this year has been very long.
Well, here's 53 degrees for a high here, and I think our low was only around 47, 48. So, kind of an upside down pattern. You're down in the deep south. Well, not deep south, but you're down in the south, and you had a chilly or cold night, and meanwhile, I had a mild night up here.
Yeah, everything's a bit upside down. How's the wind?
We've seen worse. Of course, the night has only begun. The wind advisory went into effect a little while ago, and it's going to be in effect all the way until 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So I assume that during the overnight, it'll rev up to 30 and 40 mile per hour. What else is new? This has to be one of the windier winters that I've had up here in the more than 2 decades that I've lived here in Putnam County.
I um I meant to mention this because I saw somebody posted at least for the New York City area, and they went through the wind statistics, and it kind of was it was actually from the standpoint of wind was very close to average. So maybe the last few winters have been sort of sub-average when it comes to wind. I was a little surprised at that for the winter season.
Well, it has been, you know, when our Alexa is no, I'm not talking to you. Go
Right.
away.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Yeah. Keep, when she goes off and she starts blinking with a yellowish green light, I know that it means that I have to check my notifications. And more often than not, this winter, when I've asked her about my notifications, what happens? She gives me the latest wind advisory from the U.S. National Weather Service. So, yet again, we're under another wind advisory, and again, it'll be a windy night tonight and into a good part of tomorrow as well. But Joe, it looks like we're done with precipitation for a while. I don't see any chance for any shower activity here until maybe next week on Thursday.
Yeah. Have you ever thanked Alexa for all she does for you?
Oh yeah, yeah, and she even knows my voice.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised the other night when I thanked her, and it sounded like an orchestra playing. Uh, I don't know if you've gotten that particular response from her, but it was a little bit of surprise, a little bit of a surprise. But uh, I forgot the name of the company. There's a few of them, but the new thing is voice bots that actually will talk to you in a not only in a conversational way, but if you interrupt the conversation, it knows that you're interrupting. I mean, it really, when you listen to it, it sounds like you're having a conversation with a regular person.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Okay, let's roll on this Thursday. I didn't get a good night's sleep
Remember, you
last
remember
night,
on the
so
you remember on the Jetsons when George would talk to the computer and the computer had like a sexy voice, and whenever they played the sexy voice that the computer was talking in, there was always some kind of a jazz type music background to give
right.
you the idea that it was kind of like a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Alluring, maybe?
Alluring, yeah, something like that.
Something like that. The technology, Joe, technology.
Yes.
Welcome tonight, everybody on the chat board. Hope you had a good day today. Welcome to those of you watching in the background on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, Sunday through Thursday. That's our regular schedule at 7:35 p.m. Friday and Saturdays are off days. In case there's a storm, we may add a show. In which case, we will let you know ahead of time that we're doing it. But if you subscribe and turn your notifications on, then you certainly won't miss us. And if you like the show, by all means, hit the like button because Joe likes it when we get over 100 likes. Actually, so do I. Um, yeah, it's pretty quiet for the most part going into next week, and you look at what's going on tonight in the parts of the West where they're getting a fairly sizable amount of snow in the Rockies, and systems coming eastward, but it's going to pretty much weaken and fall apart before it gets here.
Yes, it looks like we're not going to be seeing, again, all that much. The next chance for precipitation, again, as I said, won't be until next Thursday. Now, the thing that I'm been scratching my head with, Joe, about next Thursday, of course, Thursday night next week is the eclipse, and you look at the operational models, both for the European and the GFS, and what they have is some kind of a storm system passing pretty well off to our south and out to sea. And if you look at the Ann Shambles, instead of having a storm passing to our south and out to sea, they have a system that's passing to our north and dragging a cold front across our area during the day on next Thursday and Thursday evening. So I'm not really sure exactly what to look for or call for at this moment in time. There will be some kind of a disturbance moving through on Thursday with perhaps a few showers. The question, of course, is will it get out of here in time for us to be able to see the eclipse on Thursday night? But I'm not sure exactly what I should be looking for. Should I be following the ensembles or the ensembles and figuring on a storm passing to our north with a frontal passage, or should I be looking for a storm according to the operational models going to our south with high pressure trying to build on down from the north and bringing us a clearing trend? I really don't know what to look for, except to simply say that next Thursday there's a chance for a few showers, and
I
that'll be our
like the
first.
back door. I like the backdoorish idea.
Well, yeah, a couple of nights ago I said that what else is new? I mean, like storm systems that apparently are heading straight toward us have all been shunting to our south, and this may be again another case of that, another situation where a storm passes off to our south. We'll see.
Ahead of that, Tuesday and timing of any backdoor maybe for late Wednesday if it holds off. I mean, both those days should be pretty warm. I mean, I was looking at things, and I mean certainly 60s area wide, and I would be shocked if there's a good deal of sun. We're going to the spring. Um, Temperatures tend to outperform the forecast. So, maybe there's a 70 degree, maybe there's some 70-degree highs in the future next week for
I
either
wouldn't
Tuesday
doubt
or
it.
Wednesday.
I would not doubt it. For the urban areas like maybe Newark or points south toward Toms River,
Mhm.
70 certainly is within reach. Here in the lower Hudson Valley, I would say 65, give or take a degree or two. P.S. The normal high at this time of the year is about, 45 or 46.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if we're talking about like 51, 52, that's still well above normal. And we're talking about maybe 10 or 12 degrees above that.
Hmm.
I haven't even looked whether or not there's going to be any potential to break records, but it certainly is in that range, in that ballpark.
Well, it's that time of year. March sun can work wonders sometimes under the right conditions. All right, let's take a look at what's happening tonight.
Yes.
across the U.S. And all right, hold on a second. I'm trying to. There we go. Come on. I'm one step behind today for some reason. Maybe it's because I didn't really get a good night's sleep last night, but no matter. Here's the watches and warnings tonight. So we've got some winter weather advisories in northern Maine. What is that in southern Maine? I don't even know what that color is. Oh, a dense fog advisory. That's pretty. That's
Oh,
interesting.
before anything else, when I woke up, see, this was one of the mornings, this is one of the days when we were taking care of our grandson, Julian, in which case I have to get up at 6 a.m. because my son drops his little boy off at 6:30 in the morning. 6 a.m. I open my eyes. I look out the window. Joe, the fog was about as dense as I've ever seen it up here. I mean, really, I could hardly see down my driveway. I got a long driveway, almost 300 feet long. But I mean, it was really thick, thick. And then over a span of about 30 minutes, it was amazing. Right before my eyes, it was almost like I was watching a time lapse. The fog just began to get eaten away. And at one point, I'm looking over toward the mountain, which is part of the Appalachian chain, by the way. And the mountain was cloaked in a thick blob of fog, but near the summit and down at the bottom, there was nothing. And it was like the fog was literally like dissipating again right before. And by the time, and I was going to tell him, my son usually takes a curvy, swervy road up that mountain to go over it to get a. There are two ways that he can get to Route 9D, which is what he takes to get to the Bear Mountain Bridge. He can go one way, or he can go over the mountain and save like 15 minutes. And I was going to tell him when he got to our house, I said, "Don't take the mountain. You have like zero visibility." But by the time he got there at 6:30, there was hardly any fog at all. But really, thick, thick cloak of fog. And I didn't check to see if the Weather Service had issued a dense fog advisory. But boy, we could have used one this morning. And I presume it was because it was, again, so very, very mild. We had temperatures in the upper 40s to near 50 for a low.
Yeah, I saw that.
Normally at this time of the year, we're still in the 20s for overnight lows. 40s
Mhm.
to near 50 last night. Wow.
Yeah, and the rainfall, by the way, was substantial. I got a lot of reports. I saw a lot of reports of people that got an inch and a half, inch and three quarters, especially on Long Island. So that was a good benefit. Whoever got into the convection last night did pretty well with respect to the rainfall. Meanwhile, we have wind advisories still up in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states, and then down the Appalachians. Although they did take them down for me, but it was still windy when last time I was out walking the dog. This growing season has started, so we've got frost advisories and freeze warnings. Although I have to tell you, last year at this time, the grass was already all greened up, and if you drove down, I'm 100 miles north of Atlanta, but when you drove south and you got into Atlanta, the trees were already, had already their leaves had bloomed and opened up. But the cold here of this winter, it's been so consistently cold since the end of December that uh, everything's probably at least a good 2.5 to even 3 weeks behind, which is just was kind of a surprise. We have winter storm warnings up across much of Wyoming, into northern Nebraska and southern South Dakota, western parts of Colorado, the middle of Utah from north to south. Some winter storm warnings up in parts of east central Arizona, and wind advisories that go with those. And we've got winter weather advisories and one county with a winter storm warning in Nevada, and some leftover winter weather advisories in the Sierra Nevadas, as well as in the mountains to the east of Los Angeles and San Diego. There's even a few winter storm warnings in some of those mountains in Southern California. And as we check out the satellite loop this evening, you can see the old storm from yesterday has moved from the Great Lakes, and actually that low has redeveloped uh, near Nova Scotia, and it's really taken all day for the cloud line to move east. If you're in eastern New England, uh, just west of Boston down to about Providence and go north and northeast from there. It's still doing stuff. Still got lots of clouds there and some precipitation as well. Uh, you need a little bit more of a push, and now that push is coming because if you see where the blue is across upstate New York and down into West Virginia and back up north of there into southeast Canada, that is the upper trough that is swinging through, and that's why the winds have picked up this evening, and they're going to continue to pick up overnight into Friday morning. That trough is finally going to help to eject this system out to the east, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Meantime, in the west, you can see the energy here that's actually quite extensive from California northeastward toward Wyoming, where that's where most of it is, and now streaming up into Nebraska. Also, some cloudiness streaming into parts of into Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas. This storm system uh, is actually producing a fair amount of snow, but the low itself, as it moves eastward, is going to just fall apart in weekend because uh, it's going to be running into a building ridge. So there you go. Can't even catch a break that way. Here's what the radar looks like tonight. Still some rain going on in eastern Massachusetts down to Rhode Island and over the Cape. And there's even a couple of sprinkles over eastern Long Island. We also have a little bit of snow up in north central New York. And out in the west, a fairly solid area of snow across northern Nebraska and southern South Dakota, snowing rather steadily through much of Wyoming into Idaho, northern Utah, back through Nevada. And we've got some rain over Southern California. Not much severe weather-wise over the next couple of days. The next threat day from the Storm Prediction Center is actually day 3, which is Saturday into Sunday, where we have a marginal risk indicated from East Texas eastward to Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. And as far as precipitation is concerned, Joe, bone dry the next 7 days, as you mentioned. We're talking a tenth of an inch or less of liquid over the next 7 days, which takes us right through next Thursday night.
Yeah, it does not look like we're going to be seeing much of anything in the foreseeable future. By the way, our good friend on the chat board, Chuck Cardillo, wants to let us know, Joe, that where he is right now, it's snowing fairly steadily.
Oh, well, Chuck's 3,000 feet up in the Catskills. It should be
Yes,
snowing steadily there.
you can get anything up there.
Yeah. The West is going to do well, particularly in California. Up and down the California coast, we're looking at an inch and a half to maybe as much as 3 inches of precipitation. And that's starting from 8 o'clock tonight. So they've had a fair amount of precipitation the last couple of days, and they're going to get more. Also in the Sierra Nevadas, you're looking at several to many inches of melted precip, and a lot of that's going to be in the form of snow. Tails off a bit as you go up into Oregon, and then picks up again in northwestern Washington and up into western portions of BC. And here's the probability for at least 4 through Friday night. So this is overnight. Doesn't count what has already fallen. So this is on top of what's already fallen. And you can see high probabilities in Wyoming, fairly large area of 50% or more. Also an area of 80 to 95% probability for at least 4. Northern parts of Nebraska and southern parts of South Dakota. And this is what it looks like on the snow totals map, where we're seeing some rather impressive amounts in Wyoming, a foot to a foot and a half in some places. Sorry, I just wanted to see if I can update this really quick in case there's any changes. And sometimes the refresh works and sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, it didn't. It actually took away the colors. I want the colors there, so put them back. There you go. But you can see what's being forecasted here. Also in the mountains of Colorado, west of Denver, down into northeastern New Mexico, central and northern Arizona, back up through Utah, and also areas in Nevada and in the Sierra Nevadas. Apparently, even though they're looking at maybe 8 to 10 inches being indicated here over the next, this takes us, by the way, to Sunday afternoon. It's not enough for them to put much in the way of advisories or winter storm warnings. The criteria there is quite high. I mean, it's a straightforward pattern. I don't see, much, as far as major storms are concerned, we really don't have too much to worry about here. The eastern trough is going to be lifting out by Sunday. It squashes the southern system that's moving along. It also squashes the California system that runs out ahead of it. And you can see that gets pushed down to the south. This is the one that the GFS erroneously tried to phase with a little northern disturbance, and that was nonsense. Another big cutoff low is heading for California along about Monday night, Tuesday, and while that's going on, we're getting a little bit of ridging here in the eastern part of the United States. Not a lot, but enough. And there's that southern system Joe mentioned for later next week, going way to the south, which would make sense while the ridge builds, but it might be a bit of a backdoor cold front play. We also have a deep trough at the end of next week, diving down into the west, and eventually that'll probably make for a big storm heading up into the plains and into central Canada, and then maybe something happens along about the 18th or 19th with respect to another one
If
of
you want to
these
look that far
fronts.
down the road.
Yeah, if you want to believe it. I mean, there's nothing here to me. The pattern is very progressive. Everything's moving along from west to east at a fair clip. There's no blocking. The troughs come in, they go out. So, I mean, if you're looking, if you've got any idea that there's going to be something as far as snow is concerned, you might as well just put it out of your head at
Yeah.
this point. And as we just check at how it looks on the surface here, the gradient stays tight. This little California low that runs out, there's a dying area of precip Friday night into Saturday morning that moves into Ohio and Pennsylvania with a little bit of snow there, and then it's gone. There probably will be some clouds around, I would think, Friday night and Saturday. The south is going to warm up some, but there's rain coming from the southern stream system for Sunday. There's that northern low that doesn't phase with it, so then that goes out. And then we get into this west, there's a fairly decent west-southwest flow. That might keep the ocean wind at bay, except maybe for just local areas along the shore. And I think this sets up well for some so temperatures getting at least into the 60s come Tuesday and maybe Wednesday before a little back door comes through. And yeah, Joe, it's just for you. It has a little strip of rain about 50 miles wide for what is it, next Thursday night for the eclipse?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
actually Thursday. Actually, it's in the pre-dawn hours of Friday, two,
Okay.
3 in the morning.
Oh, well, it's mostly gone by then, but you know what? If the flow is onshore-ish and there's like a little ripple in there, that's really annoying. I'm just thinking about the fact that you look at this overall pattern and much of the country is dry except for this little stick right along a frontal boundary that's right over you for next Thursday night.
Well, but that's still a week away, and so
Yeah,
many things can happen between now and then. So
yeah. Uh,
we'll
and
see.
here comes another big storm in the west later next week, and you can see that the models have another bomb that goes up into this one goes into the Dakotas and Minnesota, so which would be par for the course. So that would be, big snows for the west and the Rockies and maybe the northern plains, and then on up into central Canada. So you might have to wait till late next weekend for any kind of steady precipitation, and it would be rain anyway.
Well, yeah. But again, it's what's the word? Flat,
Yes.
indifferent, a pattern that, I mean, if you're looking for excitement in the weather this upcoming week, you ain't getting it. The only thing you're going to be getting if you've been waiting for milder temperatures, you're getting it by the time we get to the start of next week with temps climbing through the 50s and into the 60s. A lot of people will be, as I sometimes will say in this type of situation, dancing in the streets. And for those of
Yes.
you who have been waiting, hoping, crossing your fingers for a final surge of cold and snow, you may get it in April, but it doesn't look like you're going to be getting it in
Yeah,
March.
you're not going to get it now.
Hmm.
The chairman, Scott Briller, is lurking in the background tonight, and he bangs the tip jar. Thank you, Mr. Scott. And speaking of Scott Briller, I think we can get going with Briller Jeopardy. Oh, by the way, before we start on that, on my Facebook feed, I got a clip. It was a picture. It wasn't a video. I got a picture of 1974 on the set of Jeopardy with Art Fleming, and
Right.
the final Jeopardy answer was the final Jeopardy category was state capitals. Okay, and of the state capitals that begin with the letter C, the one that is last alphabetically.
State capitals that begin with the letter
C,
C. C.
right. The one that is last in that list alphabetically. It
Huh.
took me about 20 seconds and I got the answer.
Well, the first one that came. No, it was. And that's not even a state capital. I was going to say Concord, but it's Manchester in New Hampshire. Uh, Gee, I don't know, Joe. Quick draw McGraw. You're faster than I am on this.
Yeah, it's not Carson City. Actually, I thought it was. Yeah, the answer I had was Concord, and um, when I looked it up on the, at least whoever put the thing up said the answer was Concord.
Really?
Is
I thought
Manchester is Manchester the capital of New Hampshire?
I thought Manchester was.
No, I think it's Concord. Do a quick Google.
I'm doing it right now. Concord. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. No, I did get it right.
All right.
All right. Anyway,
Good.
tonight our questions are a little easier. Um, so we're still doing average snowfall in March. So tonight's first city is the Motor City, Joe, Detroit.
Um. Gee. All right. What could possibly? Um. I'll. I'll say 8.
A little too high, but Frank R gets it at 6. He was the second one to post tonight. 6.
Hmm.
As the Rothmansky man also got 6. Okay, next we have Silipon Still I can't. I got to write it out and then do it. Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. Oh God. I'll say in March. I'll say 4.
Well, that was a good guess. It's close. It's close. William Uber gets it with 3. 3. 3 mints in one. Memphis, Joe. Memphis.
Oh God. Well, it's either got to be only 1 or 2. I'll say 2.
And Lou Arizio said 1. And the answer is 1.
1. See?
1.
No.
So did Frank Scalera and Frank R. and William Uber and all the saints who have done your will throughout the ages. Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. What did we say for Detroit?
6.
6. All right. For Minneapolis, I'm not going to go crazy. I'll say 8.
And you can ring the bell for yourself and John Menendez. 8. 8.
There you go.
And Louisville. Louisville.
What?
Louisville.
Oh, Louisville. I
Don't do the Frankfurt joke
No, I'm
again.
not going to do the Frankfurt. It's an old joke and bad. Um, I don't know. 2.
Yeah, ring the bell for yourself too,
Hey, ring.
along with Mr. Rothmansky and Anthony Orr. Oh, Anthony had sent me something. I just wanted to just pass it along. Let's see. Um, Scranton, the temperature 31 there with a wind chill of 20, and that's off the high of 53 that happened at 12:04 a.m. this morning. So the cold air is just down the street, Mr. Rayo, for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Lovely. Lovely.
I have to get into the habit that when I have something I want to mention, to write it down, because while we were doing Briller Jeopardy, something I wanted to mention tonight, and now I've completely forgotten what that was. But I'll probably remember it 2 nights later, like I remembered about the what was it that I remembered? I forgot that too.
Yeah.
Oh, the Jeopardy thing with Art Fleming, the original Jeopardy host when Joe and I were
Art
kids.
Fleming.
Yes. Yeah, I met his daughter a couple of times. Nice lady. So, anything exciting going on this weekend? The German club, are they doing anything
My
spectacular?
my sister's coming over to bring a few things and to say hello to my grandson, her nephew or great nephew, and aside from that, finishing my taxes tomorrow, doing a library talk virtually tomorrow night,
Okay.
and then doing Joe and Joe on Sunday at
Sunday.
7:35.
Yeah, I've got Saturday. I'm going. My grandsons have baseball games, so I'm driving down to see them play. Um,
Baseball or T-ball?
um, the older one, I think it's baseball.
Yeah.
The middle for Nolan. I don't know if it's T-ball because he's really good. So I don't know if they moved him up to uh, to the next level. Joe, I have to tell you, my younger grandson, and he's only 5 years old. I have never seen a 5-year-old have the hand-eye coordination that this kid has. You
Oh,
should see how good he is. At, and I mean, he whacks the ball, and he sends it. Sometimes he sends it down to the fence. He's
wow.
very good, and he loves playing baseball. He loves
Oh,
playing baseball.
who knows? He may become, a major league player, and then he will be able to um, help supplement or provide Grandpa with a few
Well,
extra
you know
dollars.
what, Joe? I'll be. So he's 5, so 17. So I'll be in my early to mid 80s at that point. So anyway, I'd be happy enough if he just plays well and enjoys it, and maybe he plays in school and high school and maybe a little college ball if that's what he wants to do. Of course, everybody thinks that their kid is the greatest at whatever they're doing, and then you come along and realize that there are going to be kids that are going to be better than he is.
Right,
So,
right.
uh, so anyhow, I don't have anything else going on, and I've got nothing else that I can think
The
of.
funniest, the funniest thing I saw on Facebook. Again, I posted a couple of things about the demise or impending demise, possibly of the National Weather Service and NOAA. And somebody wrote on the chat board, not on the chat board, but in the comments section, he says, "What do I care if that happens? I've got my phone app. I'll get my weather from that." And of course, I said, "You idiot!" I said, "And where do you think the phone app gets its information from?"
Yeah, and this seldom gets mentioned. It seldom gets talked about. Just another thing to put out there. But the Weather Service made a very conscious decision, however many years ago, when apps were starting to become a thing. Okay, the early versions of apps
Right,
that rather than because the Weather Service could easily have they could have very easily made apps for themselves, okay, that you could download like a National Weather Service, weather app. Well, they don't. You may have noticed that they don't really exist, and the reason they don't exist is that The Weather Service made a very conscious decision to put the data out there for free and let the private entities that were out there use the data to create weather apps for themselves. Goes away. That's going to go. That will go away because all
Yep.
if so think about it, folks. Is yeah, I've had a number of people making all sorts of snide stupid remarks, and I tell you, I have no patience. I've lost all patience. Well, they get it wrong 90% of the time anyway. All those stupid old jokes that people think that they're the first ones to come up with it. How it must be nice to get paid for being wrong 90% of the time, and usually it's some smart ass guy who you know thinks he's all that and will say it to your face. And I always look at him straight in the face and I respond by saying, well, you know what? With that kind of accuracy rate, you should be thankful that I'm not your urologist. You know. So anyway, all right. You know what? Let's end the week on a happy note. Um, and we'll see everybody on Sunday. So have a great weekend. Those of you on the chat board, those of you lurking in the background, have a great weekend, and we'll see you Sunday night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Ta
See you then.
ta.
Ta ta.